You were not born afraid of freedom. You were born wild, untamable, vast as the horizon. A child who did not yet know shame, who did not yet know fear. But slowly, the world taught you to shrink, to keep your head down, to listen to the rules, to trade curiosity for certainty and possibility for safety. They told you freedom was dangerous, that it would ruin you, that it would make you selfish, reckless, unloved. And so you learned to choose the cage, not because you loved it, but because the silence outside its bars seemed unbearable. Freedom terrifies us because it leaves us exposed. It strips away excuses. It erases the comfort of saying, I was only following orders. I was only doing what everyone else does. To be free is to stand alone. To be free is to look into the abyss of possibility and to know no one will catch you if you fall. And so most people never dare. They stay within the herd. They live lives that are safe, polite, predictable, but lifeless. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this with brutal clarity. He saw that humanity's greatest fear is not death or pain or even meaninglessness. It is freedom, because freedom demands everything. It asks you to abandon the scripts you inherited, the roles you were assigned, the gods and masters you leaned on to avoid responsibility. Most people, Nietzsche said, would rather be tame than free. They would rather remain blind than confront the terrifying truth that they are the authors of their own lives. But he also believed in something else, that within each of us there is a spark, a fire the herd cannot extinguish, a part of us that longs to break through the walls, a part that remembers what it felt like to be untamable. This is where our journey begins, not with comfort, not with safety, but with fear. Because only by walking through the fear of freedom can you discover who you truly are. Chapter 1. The Symptom. Herd fatigue. You know the feeling, the quiet heaviness when you wake up and realize you are about to live the same day again. The same words, the same gestures, the same mask you have learned to wear. It is not the weight of tragedy. It is not even despair. It is something subtler. A slow erosion of your soul. Nietzsche would have called it the fatigue of the herd. The exhaustion that comes from living a life designed for safety, not for truth. The herd tells you, do not stand out. Keep moving in the same direction as everyone else. Do not question the rules, because the rules keep us alive. Do not disturb the order, because order is all that keeps chaos away. And so you play along. You smile when you are tired. You nod when you disagree. You work in silence, even when the silence is killing you. At first, it feels easier this way. No conflict, no risk, no burden of carrying your own choices. But slowly, the fatigue sets in. Because deep inside, you know the mask you wear is not your real face. The life you live is not your real life. You become a ghost in your own story. Present, but absent. Functional, but unseen. Safe, but empty. Nietzsche saw this fatigue not as weakness, but as a symptom. A warning sign that your spirit is suffocating, that the spark within you is gasping for air. He believed that when you feel this emptiness, it is not because you lack something external. It is because you have buried something internal. Your will, your voice, your fire. Look around. Most people live this way. Silent exhaustion behind polite smiles. Dreams traded for convenience. conformity disguised as morality, and they tell you this is life, that this is maturity, that this is what it means to be responsible. But deep down, you feel the truth. It is not responsibility. It is surrender. It is the quiet despair of someone who has given their soul to the herd and called it safety. This is why you feel unseen, not because others cannot recognize you, but because you have disappeared, because you no longer dare to step outside the line. Nietzsche whispers, "Listen to that fatigue. Do not ignore it. It is the sound of your soul rebelling. It is proof that you are not yet dead inside, that some part of you still longs to breathe freely. The fatigue of the herd is not the end. It is the beginning. The first crack in the walls that keep you tame. The first reminder that freedom is calling you, and that it terrifies you precisely because it is real." Chapter 2. The Frame. Herd versus Overman. The herd is not evil. It does not gather in secret to plot against you. It simply exists, driven by fear, by habit, by the need for comfort. The herd whispers, "Stay close. Do not question too much. Do not wander too far from the fire. Safety lies in numbers. If you are like everyone else, then no one will single you out. If you obey, you will be rewarded. If you resist, you will be punished." Nietzsche saw this morality for what it was, a morality born not from strength, but from weakness, a morality that worships obedience, humility, sameness, because anything else threatens the fragile order. He called it slave morality, a way of thinking that makes comfort into a virtue and fear into wisdom. The herd praises the tame and condemns the untamable. It disguises conformity as goodness and labels freedom as arrogance. But Nietzsche also saw another possibility, the possibility of the one who dares to step outside, the one who does not ask permission to exist, the one who creates values instead of inheriting them. He called this figure the Übermensch, the Overman, not a ruler over others, but a ruler over themselves, not a tyrant, but a creator. Someone who looks into the abyss of meaninglessness and says, "I will make meaning here." The herd survives by repeating. The Overman survives by creating. The herd clings to certainty. The Overman embraces risk. The herd avoids the abyss. The Overman makes the abyss their home. To the herd, the Overman is dangerous, because if even one person breaks free, the illusion begins to crumble. The lie that says this is the only way to live is exposed. And so the herd resists the different. It mocks the strange. It isolates the rebellious. It tells stories of why the free are selfish, corrupt, insane. But this resistance is not proof of the Overman's failure. It is proof of their freedom. The more you step beyond the herd, the more the herd will try to pull you back. Nietzsche's challenge is not abstract. It is not for some distant mythic hero. It is for you. Because you too feel the pull of both worlds. One part of you longs for safety, the comfort of approval, the reassurance of fitting in. Another part longs for fire, for risk, for creation, for the terrifying possibility of a life that belongs only to you. This is the frame Nietzsche gives us. Not a choice between good and evil, not a choice between order and chaos, but a choice between the herd and the possibility of becoming something more. Most will choose the herd. They will never step beyond the walls, but a few will dare. And for those few, freedom will not feel like comfort. It will feel like fire, It will feel like fear, and it will feel like life itself. Chapter 3: The Trap. Fear of freedom. Why does freedom terrify us? Why, when the cage door swings open, do most of us hesitate? Because freedom is not light, it is heavy. It does not remove burdens, it adds them. It strips away the comfort of excuses. It places the weight of every choice directly in your hands. To be free is to know that no God is guiding you, no system is excusing you, no master is responsible for you. You are alone with your life. And that is too much for most people to bear. Nietzsche saw this with cruel clarity. He saw that the majority prefer obedience, not because they are weak, but because they are terrified. The herd gives you ready-made values. It tells you what is good and what is bad. It gives you a role to play. And in return, it takes away the unbearable responsibility of deciding for yourself. At first, this feels like relief. There is no need to question, no need to carry the weight of uncertainty. The path is already drawn. Just keep walking. But that relief is a trap. Because once you surrender your freedom, you surrender yourself. You become a shadow moving in someone else's story. You exist, but you do not live. This is why Nietzsche despised systems that made obedience a virtue. He saw in religion, in politics, in morality, the same quiet poison. Do not think for yourself. We have already done the thinking for you. And humanity, exhausted by fear, willingly drank it. Decades later, Jean-Paul Sartre would call this bad faith, the lie we tell ourselves to avoid the terror of freedom. But Nietzsche did not soften it with philosophy. He called it cowardice. Not because people are incapable, but because they run from the very thing that could set them free. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. Behind you, the safety of the herd, the comfort of certainty, the rules that tell you who you are. Ahead of you, the abyss, wide, empty, terrifying. It is possibility itself. Part of you longs to leap. Another part trembles, because you know, once you leap, you can never return. And so most turn back. They tell themselves the leap was foolish, arrogant, impossible. They call the cliff dangerous, when in truth the danger is not the fall, but the blindness of never leaving the ground. This is the trap. The herd convinces you that freedom is too heavy, too dangerous, too lonely. It whispers, "Stay with us. Do not leave. Do not see too much. It is safer this way." And you believe it. Because the abyss is terrifying. Because the thought of carrying your own life is terrifying. But Nietzsche's warning is this: the fear will never leave you. If you stay, the fear remains as fatigue, as emptiness, as the quiet despair of never becoming yourself. If you leap, the fear becomes your companion, but it also becomes your teacher. The truth is simple and unbearable. Most people do not want freedom. They want relief from freedom. They want chains so that when their lives collapse, they can say, "It was not my fault." But freedom gives you no such comfort. It is yours, and it is heavy. And it is the only thing that can make you real. Chapter 4: The Escape. Becoming untamable. So how do you escape the trap? How do you step beyond the herd without collapsing under the weight of freedom? Nietzsche's answer was not comfort. It was not optimism. It was not the promise of easy liberation. It was self-overcoming. To become free is not to rebel once and be done. It is to face yourself again and again until nothing remains hidden. It is to take the fear of freedom and make it fuel instead of chains. Nietzsche did not imagine the untamable person as reckless, chaotic, wild for its own sake. He imagined someone who could master themselves, someone who could stare into the abyss and say, "This is mine. I will build here." But how do you begin? Not with grand gestures, not with heroic revolutions. It begins with small refusals. The refusal to smile when you don't mean it. The refusal to agree just to be accepted. The refusal to obey when your soul says no. Each refusal is a cut in the chains. Each act of honesty, each act of risk, each step into discomfort is a declaration. I am not theirs. I am mine. And slowly, something begins to shift. The herd still surrounds you. The voices still try to pull you back. But within you, there is space. Space to breathe, space to create, space to exist without apology. This is what Nietzsche meant when he said we must learn to live dangerously. Not recklessly, but with the courage to risk ourselves. To risk rejection, misunderstanding, even loneliness, in order to remain true. It will not be easy. The herd will resent you. They will mock you, isolate you, call you arrogant. Because your freedom exposes their chains. Your fire reminds them of the spark they buried. But this resistance is proof you are on the path. It means you have stepped outside the script. It means you have begun to create. And creation is the heart of Nietzsche's vision. The untamable person does not simply reject the herd. They build something new. They shape their own values, their own meaning, their own world. Their life itself becomes art. This is the essence of freedom. Not comfort, not safety, but creation. To become untamable is to accept the fear, to walk with it, and to let it sharpen you. To make every moment a brushstroke in the painting of your life. To say, even when trembling, I choose this. I will not be blind. I will not be tame. Chapter 5. The Path Forward. Living Beyond the Herd. What does it mean to live beyond the herd? What does it mean, in practical terms, to carry the weight of freedom? It does not mean you must abandon everyone. It does not mean rejecting love or community or comfort. It does not mean becoming a hermit who spits on the world. Living beyond the herd is not about separation. It is about transformation. It begins with a shift in how you see yourself, no longer as someone waiting to be told what to do, but as someone who chooses. Every day, every moment, you ask, is this mine, or is this borrowed? Is this choice alive, or is it just the herd speaking through me? This is not a one-time revelation. It is a discipline, a daily practice of refusing the script. Sometimes it looks small, choosing to speak when silence would have been easier, saying no when yes would have won approval, admitting desire when hiding would have felt safer. Each act is a rehearsal for freedom. Each risk, no matter how small, strengthens the muscle of responsibility. Nietzsche called this living dangerously, not recklessly, but courageously. To make choices not because they are safe, not because they are popular, but because they are true. And this truth will cost you. You will lose people who only loved the mask. You will disappoint those who depended on your obedience. You will be misunderstood, even resented. But slowly, you will also attract something else. Not approval, but resonance. Not comfort, but authenticity. The people who remain or who arrive will not be there for your mask. They will be there for you. And more than people, you will find yourself. Your voice no longer muted. Your will no longer bent. Your life no longer borrowed. This is what it means to live beyond the herd, to accept loneliness when necessary, to accept fear as companion, to accept the abyss not as punishment, but as invitation. The path forward is not safe. It is not guaranteed. It will terrify you again and again. But that terror is the sign that you are alive. The herd avoids terror by avoiding freedom. The untamable seek terror because it points the way. It says, here is the edge, here is the unknown, here is where creation begins. To live beyond the herd is not to escape fear, but to embrace it, to let it carve you into something new, to make your life a testament to courage, to creation, to freedom itself. And when you do, something extraordinary happens. The fear does not vanish, but it becomes light. Not the light of comfort, but the glow of a fire only you could ignite. This is the path Nietzsche points to. Not a path of safety, not a path of belonging, but the path of becoming. Oh, true. Why freedom terrifies you. Freedom will always terrify you. That will never change. Because freedom is not a gift handed down from above. It is a weight you must choose to carry. Most people never pick it up. They prefer the comfort of the herd, the safety of obedience, the illusion of certainty. And maybe you will too. Maybe you will return to the cage, telling yourself that it is enough to survive, that safety is all you need. But somewhere inside, the untamable part of you will not be silent. It will whisper in moments of fatigue, in the dead quiet of routine, in the loneliness of living someone else's life. That whisper is the spark Nietzsche spoke of. The reminder that you are not here merely to repeat. You are here to create. Freedom will terrify you, but terror is not your enemy. It is the doorway. It is the proof that you are standing at the edge of possibility. The abyss is not a prison. It is a canvas. And Nietzsche's challenge remains, as urgent now as when he first spoke it. Do not live as though you were already dead. Do not be blind. Do not be tame. Carry the weight, break your chains, and become who you are.